Rick Rule for Rule Investment Media, sponsors and producers of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium, this year in Boca Raton, Florida, July 23rd through 27th. What you're listening to is part of our ongoing CEO interview, where we allow our listeners and participants in the conference to meet the CEOs of the companies who will be presenting there. Note to everyone, I personally own shares, or funds managed by me own shares in every one of the public company issuers. This is at once a conflict of interest, which I'm proud of, but it's also a way of guarantee to you that all of our issuers are not merely advertisers, but content too. We have invested time and treasure in the portfolio, and this comes through on our issuers. I'm delighted today to introduce you to a new friend of mine, Ms. Alexandra Woodyear. Sherron, I'm sorry, I screwed up the name, but you'll forgive me for that. She is CEO of Empress Royalty, an exhibitor and a longtime participant, despite her youth, in the natural resources exploration and development finance. Alexandra, first of all, thank you for subjecting yourself to this interview, despite my butchering of your name, and also for your ongoing sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. It was great to have you last year.
No, thank you so much, Rick. Thank you for your support as a shareholder. The conference was fantastic last year, and we're really looking forward to coming back and talking to new investors.
I think a huge part of the story is the amazing track record and experience of the whole management team led by yourself, going back really 20 years in a private business founded by your dad. If you could talk to us about the team, how you got here, and what you've done in the past.
Absolutely. So I started off as the first employee at Endeavor Financial at the age of 14, setting up the research department. In those days, it meant going through the yellow pages, calling up the company and asking to mail the annual report and filing it. So, I started in the industry very young, working closely with my father. I went on and got my commerce degree, joined PwC in the mining group just after BRIEC. So that was a very interesting time. And then joined Endeavor Financial as an analyst, working my way up through the ranks, became director of structured finance in London. And at that point, I was working closely with David Rhodes, who was originally at Barclays and then Standard Bank, and then joined Endeavor Financial as managing director. So we teamed up to launch Empress, seeing that the streaming companies were doing bigger and bigger investment sizes of $100 million plus as the project financing solution. And no one was providing that financing solution to the junior side. And that's how we started Empress. Combined management has over 250 years of experience. We have completed over $6 billion in mining finance transactions. We've got we've got Rich, who's our global VP, who's a mining engineer, investment banker. I have access to Endeavor's whole team, all the cash flow modelers, financial analysts, mining engineers, geologists, to really be able to punch above our weight and structure and execute on the business plan.
It's not unlikely, and I don't want to put words in your mouth, disabuse me if what I say isn't true, but it's not unlikely that in terms of leading you to potential transactions, the relationship with Endeavor could be useful too.
Absolutely. And we have been sourcing a lot of deals through Endeavor. Endeavor's been around for over 30 years. So really using that network and relationships also through some of our other well-experienced board members. So all the companies we're investing in, we have an existing relationship at some point with the management team that we're investing in. And that really allows us to be more comfortable with the risks that we're taking in the portfolio, as well as sourcing opportunities. We are not short of opportunities to make investments.
So tell me something about Everett. I'm doing well today. Empress, as we sit. Tell me something about the existing assets, and tell me too how you differentiate yourself from all of the small competitors in the royalty and streaming business.
Yeah, I really just starting off with sort of the overall sector. There's a lot of different types. There's the exploration generation, early stage and expensive to acquire. But who knows, it'll turn into a mine. If it does, there's a long lead time to revenue. Then there's the buying third-party royalties, where you're acquiring these assets, typically paying a premium because it's a competitive bid process, and there's no direct relationship with the company. Empress, we create new royalties or streams to get mines into production working closely with management groups to be able to, assess our investments and be able to really monitor them. And that's where we add value as our background as investment bankers to really be able to target those ones. And, that's how we set the company up. That was our strategy. We launched with some exploration assets. We layered in 3 development assets and 1 producing asset. We've invested $19.5 million into the portfolio to date. 2 of those development assets are now in production. So we have 3 revenue sources coming in, forecasting about $7 million US in revenue using current metal prices into Empress this year. Cumulatively, that's $54 million over the next 5 years. From that initial investment of 19.5, that's the value creation we've done.
Very nice. Could you describe briefly some of the assets that you're particularly happy with that prospective investors would want to know about?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got the Sierra Antipite mine, which is a Peruvian a mine in Peru. We invested $10 million, and a return of that we structured as a gold stream. So we're getting 4.5% of their gold. The net asset value of that investment is about $15 million. That was a private company, so we funded them to help them expand their production up to 1,000 tons per day, and we've received over 1,000 ounces to date on that investment. Then we have the Talahueto silver stream owned by Luca Mining. This one was where we were part of a financing solution to help get this project into production. They're producing now. They should be at 500 tons per day at the end of this month, the end of June, ramping up over to the second ball mill towards the end of 2023. So that was another one where we invested $5 million. The annual cash flow when they're at the 1,000 tons is about $3.3 million US in revenue. The net asset value was $20 million. And then the third one that's exciting for us is the other revenue generator, which is Manica, Mozambique, owned by a private group. We invested $3 million, just over 3% royalty. The annual revenue coming into Empress when they're fully ramped up, which should be very shortly, is $1.6 million. The NAV on that is $5 million. And I think those deals kind of describe what we look for. Private companies, public companies, ramp up, getting into production. I think they're a good demonstration. The overall portfolio IRR is about 30% right now.
So 30% IRR, $19 million invested turns into a net present value of somewhere around $50 million. Packaged around a team that has been responsible for $6 billion in transactions over the last 25 years. Is that a reasonable summary?
Absolutely. I think it's
so
47 million. Sorry.
Thank you. Well, my job is to exaggerate, I guess. Looking forward a little bit, tell me what you see as catalysts. Tell me how you see things changing in the next 12 to 18 months. What are you working on, or what are your investee companies working on? What's going to change that's going to allow the company to be worth more and hopefully see the share price go up?
Yeah. So with the 3 mines that we have right now, they're all ramping up their production. So we'll see an increase in revenue at 7 million forecast this year, $10 million US next year. But we've got a robust pipeline, as I mentioned earlier. I've got exclusivity on 2 deals right now, both in Africa. One's for $7.5 million US. We have done our due diligence on this and technicals. We've been to site. It's got a clean bill of health. We're in the documentation phase of that at the moment. That's a public company looking to ramp up their production. And then we have a second one that we just got back from site on, that's also in Africa. That's a $5 million, again, structuring it as a gold stream. There are other ones in the pipeline that we're working on, we're in data rooms on, but my personal goal is to bring in 3 new investments into the portfolio this year. And we're well on our way of being able to do that with the 2 that we're looking at the moment.
Wonderful. So you're looking at the beginning of the maturation phase of the existing assets, while at the same time adding new assets on top, employing the same disciplines and strategy. Don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's effectively true?
Yes, absolutely. It's repeating
Wonderful.
The formula we've had before.
And to repeat something else, just to make sure I got it right, what you see as your durable competitive advantage is the fact that you create, rather than buy at auction, royalties. And you do that, if you will, through the distribution network of Endeavour. Is that accurate, or is there more?
Yep, absolutely. Between Endeavour and our management board, we have unique access to deal flow, and we're leveraging that. We're all big shareholders in this and want to get great returns for our shareholders.
Should our investors and listeners want to learn more, and I think they should, We always like to use these interviews in conjunction with the lessons that we've taught at the mining classroom, and we like to have a living, breathing human being at the company to offer our listeners a sort of a curated experience through the company. Whom might I refer those listeners to, and how might they contact he or she?
Please contact myself. My email is alexandra@empressroyalty.com. Our number is 604-331-2080. And I'm happy to answer any questions. Jump on a call. Caitlin Taylor's our VP Marketing. She's Caitlin at Empress Royalty. We have on our website a calendar link, so you can just click on it and book a meeting immediately. But I would love to talk with people in advance of the conference, and then be able to continue those conversations on at the conference. We'll be there from the breakfast at 7 a.m. right through the whole day. So when you see us, please come by the booth or grab me at any point. I would love to have conversations.
Oh, I watched you last year. You were there to work, which I appreciate. Ladies and gentlemen, should you want to learn more about Empress, and I think you should, you heard exactly the right answer. You talk to the CEO. If the CEO doesn't want to talk to shareholders, it means they don't care about their partners. They don't care about the cost of capital. I can tell you, she does. She's talked to me probably more than she wishes she had. Alexandra, thank you so much for your efforts on behalf of shareholders, and thank you even more for your ongoing support and sponsorship of the Natural Resources Investment Symposium. We look forward to hosting you in Boca.
Thank you so much, and thank you for your support.